today to have astronaut Dr. Buzz Aldrin here at our headquarters in Palo Alto, discussing some of the cool space programs you're working on and also the launch of the new Grundig G6 Aviator Buzz Aldrin Edition, which is a great product that's going to hit the stores in time for Father's Day. So we're going to discuss some things, have some cool questions to ask you, and just see what's going on in space these days.
Well, from a pilot standpoint, we had analog-driven devices, instruments. I mean, we had switches, toggle switches, and those have all been replaced. Now the shuttle is trying to keep up to date, but the shuttle is just aging quite a bit. And the new spacecraft that will replace the Apollo command module, called Orion, will have very modern electronics and displays in it. It looks like an Apollo, but it's you open the hatch and look inside, and it's quite a bit different. And it can carry 6 people or 4 people to the moon. It's really the information age that has driven the differences between what we had 40 years ago. Actually, what I chose to patent was derived from Buckminster Fuller and some of his, he was a geodesic dome. Well, there's a great structure called a cube octahedron. I bet you don't know what it is, but it would be ideal as a structure to have a habitat on the inside of it. So I have another patent on multiple spacecraft per launch vehicle. And that might be a way of getting more people in smaller spacecraft into space on one big rocket that you launch. One rocket and a big rocket. The bigger the rocket, the cheaper the cost per pound. So if you want to take a lot of people into space, you get a big rocket, and the only thing we built right now are 6-person spacecraft. A shuttle's way too big because it's got a big cargo bay in it. So that might be useful. Might be useful to send Marines to any place in the world at a moment's notice. ShareSpace is a nonprofit foundation, one word, ShareSpace. And it does 3 things right now. The first is to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Apollo missions, combining them together. And the purpose is to bring these people who are recognized, or maybe not recognized, because that was 40 years ago. So we want to rekindle the interest and talk about the benefits that we derived from the race with the Russians, from the first landings on the moon and understanding what the rocks are about, and then generating enthusiasm for the aerospace industry and the people working, and then the education. But at the same time, we then want to switch over and say, well, what do we expect to get out of exploration in the future? You can't really just talk about the future. If you've done something before, you want to learn what you got out of it before, and then project what more things we're going to be learning in the future, because we need the public behind us. So we need to share space, the past achievements, the future, with the public. Then the next thing we do is to try and make public access to space more affordable. Virgin Galactic and about 3 or 4 other companies are trying to go up to 100 kilometers and come back down. It's brief. It's called suborbital space. Another way of getting there, and that's very important to me, another way. The Orion is really built where they will have a lander with them, just like Apollo. They'll get into the lander called Altair, and then the Altair lander will land on the surface of the moon, probably the South Pole, because there are craters at the South Pole and some at the North Pole where the sun doesn't get into the craters. So it's always dark, and different parts of the moon have been hit in the past, millions, billions of years, by comets and other things that have water in them. So we expect that there's water fragments or crystals or frost, something like that, and that's hydrogen and oxygen. My father was an early aviation pilot, so I wanted to become a pilot. My first airplane ride was about 2 years old, but I was a pioneer. I was a veteran by then. The first airplane was a Lockheed Vega, and we were flying from Newark Airport in New Jersey, where I grew up, down to Miami, in a Lockheed Vega high wing, painted red and white to look like an eagle. It was a Standard Oil New Jersey company airplane, and eagles are important to me. It's a symbol of our country and patriotic, and it's also the call sign or the name of the spacecraft, lunar excursion module that Neil and I landed on the moon. It's called the Eagle. So rather than choose a test pilot path, I went for more academics, and while I was studying at MIT and writing my doctoral thesis on manned orbital rendezvous, I thought it was a good time to maybe apply, even though I wasn't really qualified, but they couldn't select me, but the next year they did. Really was airplanes, and I was a teenager, born in 1930, so I wasn't old enough to be in the service for World War II, but I was certainly following it because my father was in the Pacific and then in the European theater, doing things back here in the country with all-weather flying. And you have touched on the most critical failure that we could have had, was to lose communication. If you are on your way to the moon and you're going to coast and go right by it, but all of a sudden you lose all communication. In the event that you wouldn't get the instructions like Apollo 13 needed to be able to change their flight plan. So you have to navigate. You have to navigate to go to the moon, fly past it, and then you have to navigate to come back and land in the Pacific Ocean about the right time, and you have to come in close to the Earth so that the atmosphere will slow you down. If you go too far away, you'll go back out again, and if you come in too steep, it'll get pretty fiery and pretty high deceleration, high G-forces. Look at how compact it is. You know, you can stick it in the pocket of a jacket, or probably even in the shirt pocket. I can go to sleep and wake up, talk to airplanes, ships. Single sideband, pretty good if you need it. You can tune in the baseball games. Well, that is fantastic. They even spelled it right. You know, I had to make that name legal about 20 years ago, because that isn't. I grew up as Edwin Eugene Aldrin Jr., but Buzz is a lot cooler.
Thank you so much for coming by today, sir, talking about your great new product, the Grundig G6 Aviator Buzz Aldrin Edition. We wish you all the best. Thank you.